Good morning. This is Randy. I just wanted to do a short video about trauma. I was watching an interview on GaiamTV.com. It's GAIAMTV.com. It's a paid website that's 99 cents for the first month and $9.99 after, but you can cancel anytime. And it's got some very interesting interviews, some things that are possibly considered on the fringe of understanding, and some very deep kind of movies. So you may want to check that out. This interview was of David Berceli, and he's a theologian, and then he became a social worker. So a couple things that he said were interesting. I'm quoting him right now. During the interview, he said, quote, "Domination is an expression of traumatic, unresolved behavior patterns." So we can think of this as how the narcissist dominates others, or attempts to, and as it being an expression of traumatic, unresolved behavior patterns. So we are also traumatized by the narcissist, and therefore we are susceptible to develop domination in terms of our expression of our own traumatic, unresolved behavior patterns, and this is why we need to work to resolve it. Just one of the reasons we need to do that. This might be one of the reasons why sometimes victims are viewed by others as actually a narcissist. It's difficult to overcome after you've been mind-effed and you've shared in some psychotic delusions with the narcissist, and then you experience trauma, and then a natural expression of trauma that's unresolved is to dominate. And we may see this kind of in the MGTOW community, where they turn against the entire group. So we're not those kind of people. That's why we work so hard to resolve these issues. This man, David Berceli, was discussing how trauma in our society is culture-driven. And he said that many people self-medicate. In previous generations, they self-medicated by alcohol consumption, just numbing the pain and trauma. And of course, they still do that, as well as numbing it with other drugs. And that he mentioned that self-medication through violent video games is another method that's more of a new thing, and it causes hyperarousal in the nervous system. And people who are exposed to trauma become dissociated and desensitized. So these are things that we need to, as trauma victims, we need to focus on becoming present in the moment and maintain a firm grip on reality so that we are not dissociating. And we need to maintain our sensitivity, our empathy, because becoming desensitized is, although it may be a form of self-protection, it could send us over to the narcissistic type of spectrum if we become desensitized. So we need to maintain some kind of balance, find some kind of balance where we are sensitive to others but yet not abused. We need to find discernment in our interactions, and we need to stay in the present and not dissociate, which is not to say that we should stay away from meditation. If you meditate, you should, I don't want to say you should, because I don't want to give people advice on what you should do, but finding your connection with that higher self through meditation is something that can strengthen you. So here's the main point of the trauma that I wanted to mention, and it's just to kind of bring out all the other kinds of people that are traumatized in the Western society and around the world, but focusing on the West, people that we don't really think of all the time as being traumatized, and it will explain their behavior. Also, that there is no help offered for these people. So there are many professions and jobs that cause trauma on an ongoing basis. And so people in these types of jobs are constantly exposed to trauma, and they need to fight it off, or they need to resolve it, and it does take a lot of wear and tear on the body and the mind. These are the professions of the military, first responders, police, firefighters, paramedics, doctors, and nurses. And there's many others, those kind of jobs that are very dangerous, jobs that where you're putting your life on the line, jobs where you are seeing people dead or dying. And these people are traumatized too, but our society does not offer help for them either. And many of these positions are men, and so men tend to suffer in silence when they have positions like this. If they are not a narcissist and actually getting off on seeing other people's pain, which may be the case, but let's say that they're not getting off on other people's pain and they're more empathic, or have a sensitivity to others' pain, they're going to absorb this, and there is no assistance or recognition for actually how they're putting themselves at risk for health problems and for problems with their families and relationship problems. Because like survivors of narcissistic abuse, these people in these professions also tend to isolate and blame themselves for things that weren't their fault, in terms of whether or not they were able to save someone, or whether or not they acted appropriately and then something else happened, like an accident, whether they were able to save their coworker. And there's no help for these people. This man, David Berceli, mentioned that if you're in the police force and you actually ask for help, or go to your supervisor and admit that you're being traumatized or suffering from trauma or PTSD, that rather than being sympathetic or offering help, you will be looked at as weak. Your job could be at risk by you admitting that this bothers you. And I would venture to say that would be for all of the professions that I mentioned. We're human beings, but in these jobs, we are not allowed to be human. We are expected to be superhuman and beyond this. And this is why these professions are, I guess, admirable. However, the help is not there. The understanding is not there. And it is not offered. We already know how our military is treated once they return. And it's grandiose of anyone to think that they can expose themselves to such trauma and such pain and not be affected. So I wanted to open it up a little bit to the others that are traumatized daily and it's not recognized, just like the survivors of narcissistic abuse are. And there's a whole lot of people that need help out there. So just recognize this, keep this in the back of your mind, and maybe somehow, eventually we can all collaborate and fix this. And this would be a great step toward assisting society and helping people. Thank you.